Radhe Radhe, everyone. Thank you for coming for this session of reading about saints of Raja and saints of Bengal. And today we will read about someone we know, someone who is in our disciplic succession, and that is Sri Pranagopala Goswami. So today we will read about him and maybe find out some new things that we didn't know about his life. So let's start. Sri Pranagopala Goswami was a descendant of Nityananda Prabhu. He was born in village Bituni of district Dhaka in East Bengal. He was only 4 years old when his father, Sri Alakamohana Goswami, died. Sri Harendra Kumar Roy, a disciple of his family, took him to his village, Pachuria of Faridpur district, to look after him and his education. He admitted him in a tola, or school. After finishing his education there, at the age of 16, he went to Kolabani and studied Mugdha Bodha Vyakarana from Sri Rajanibhanta Bhattacharya for 2 years. Then he went to Kolkata and continued his studies under Sri Gokula Chand Goswami. At that time, he was so poor that he could not even afford a lamp for his studies. He used to read in the gaslight on the street. Sri Gokula Chand Goswami was so pleased with his dedication to studies and the brilliance of his mind that he used to say, "This boy will preserve my name." After Pranagopala became proficient in different branches of Sanskrit learning, he started delivering discourses on Srimad Bhagavatam. He was ideally equipped for this, not primarily because of his learning, but because of his bhakti. He was born with such strong samskaras of bhakti that once at the age of 11, when he heard a lady singing a song describing the beauty of Krishna, he had the vision of Krishna playing on his flute and fell senseless on the ground. His discourses or lectures were so powerful that no one who heard him even once could remain unaffected. Once he was giving lecture on Bhagavatam in village Abadpur of Maimansiha. Sri Ananda Kishore Goswami of that village was so impressed by his lectures that he decided to marry his daughter Sarojini with him. His relations or his relatives opposed to this because Pranagopala was poor, but he did not listen to them. Sarojini was married to him. Pranagopala went to Navadvip with his wife and began to live there in a rented house. he started Bhagavatam path in Navadvip. Sri Govinda Das Babaji of Vaishnava Pada in Navadvip was so much influenced by his patha, that he decided to renounce everything and go to Vrindavana for doing bhajana. He gave him the Sri Vigraha, or the murtis of Sri Radha Madan Mohan, worshipped by him. He gave him his house, land, and everything, and just went to Vrindavana. Since then, Pranagopala lived in that house and served Radha Madan Mohan with all his heart and soul. Every year, at the time of Niyama Seva, Pranagopala went to Dhaka for a month-long Bhagavatam patha, and people came from distant places to listen to his lectures and were in ecstasy to see his dance and kirtana, which he was accustomed to do after lectures. He also had to go to other places for giving lectures. Once, when he was giving lecture at the house of landlord Kala Sahib in Kumila, a very strange thing happened. Pranagopala was speaking with deep emotion, and the listeners were shedding tears. But a highly placed and self-conceited man was repeatedly interrupting by asking baseless questions, which caused much annoyance to him and the audience. Once Pranagopala said to him, in a sharp tone, "Keep quiet for some time." From that time, the man lost his speech. In spite of all his efforts, he could not say even a single letter. Pranagopala touched his forehead with his bag of beads, japa bag, bag of beads for counting Harinam, and his speech was restored. Once Pranagopala went to Falehabad for Bhagavat lecture, and at that time, in a nearby village named Mekala, a strange thing happened. There lived, in that village, a rich man whose name was Govinda Saha. Outside his house was a temple constructed by his ancestors. There was no proper arrangement for the service of the deities in the temple. Near the temple, people often saw a ghost. One day, in the evening, Govinda Saha heard the shriek of a neighbor. He ran up to him and asked, "What happened?" And the neighbor said, "I saw a shadowy figure enter the temple. As soon as it entered, the door automatically closed." Saha picked up courage and asked the ghost from outside the temple, "Who are you? Why do you loiter about my house?" The ghost replied in nasal tone, "I am the one of your ancestors. Listen, I have good news for you, Sri for you. Shripad Pranagopala Goswami has come to Fatehabad. You take Diksha from him and be blessed. Bring his Adar Amrita, or his Amrita that touched his lips, and offer it to me by name. So Govinda Sah did likewise. So he did that. After that, the ghost was never seen there. Once when Shripad Pranagopala was delivering Bhagavat lecture at the palace of Raja Nandi Mahashaya of Kashim Bazar, Sri Narottam Thakur appeared to him in a dream at night and invited him for lecture in Ketubi state, of which he was the heir apparent in his manifest life. The Panditas of Bengal were so much impressed by the learning and the lectures of Pranagopala that they honored him with the title Siddhanta Ratna. Pranagopala was Siddha in Lila Smarana. This is proved by the following excerpt from the biography of Kamini Kumar Ghosh, a Siddha Mahatma included in Vraja Ke Bhakta book. Shripad Pranagopala had great regard for Kamini Babu. Both addressed each other as Dada, or older brother. Though both lived far from each other, they often found themselves together in Lila Smarana. Sometimes both enjoyed the same Lila and saw each other in his or their Manjari form. And they confirmed this by writing letters to each other. Even while sleeping at night, Pranagopala was often heard saying something which indicated that he was having Lila Darshana. Once he was heard saying, "O Saki, give me my fan. Don't you see that both of them, Radha and Krishna, are sweating?" This was natural because according to the Siddha Pranali, he was assigned the service of fanning the divine couple by Gurudev. In 1911, Pranagopala went to Vrindavana. The people of Vrindavana got the much longed for opportunity of listening to his lessons and kirtana, for which they had been waiting so long. They took him from the station to his own Lakshmi Kantakunja in Gopinath Bajar in a procession performing kirtana with 14 mridangas and karatals. The lecture started from the next day in the temple of Govindaji. All the Siddha Mahatmas of that time, including Pandita Ram Krishna Das Baba, Jagadish Das Baba, Madhav Das Baba, Sri Krishnapad Das Baba, Gauranga Das Baba, and Rajarishi Banamali Rai attended his lectures. In his lecture, when he described the Vrajalila, it appeared as if the Leela had become manifest. The people who listened were stormed with bhava. Tears, tremor, and horripilation, etc., repeatedly appeared on their bodies. Pranagopal himself had great capacity for controlling his bhava, but sometimes he could not. He had to close the lecture and apologize to the listeners. He went home and left his mind to swim freely in the ocean of bhava and enjoy Krishna Lila. But once he was drowned so deep into it that the whole night, while sleeping, he continued to repeat the shlokas of Gopi Gita. The next morning, when his sons, Sri Yadu Gopal Goswami and Sri Nanda Gopal Goswami, asked him about it, he looked at them with surprise and said, "What do you say? I cannot make out anything." From Vrindavana, Pranagopal went to Radha Kund. Every morning before sunrise, he went around Radha Kund along with his companions. One day, the companions who were talking among themselves lagged behind, and Pranagopal went out of sight. After some time, they heard him shouting, "Oh, come and see, come and see." So they ran up to him and saw that he was lying senseless on the ground. The place was radiant with a supernatural blue light and pervaded by a supernatural smell. They took him in an unconscious state to Rajabadi of Raja Rishi Vanamali Roy, where he was staying. After a long time, when he regained consciousness, he looked at them with tearful eyes and said, "Oh, tell me where he has gone, leaving me alone in darkness." He continued to weep and cry and rave like one who had gone mad. He came to his own after the companions sang Harinama to him for a long time. Very beautiful. Once Pranagopal had to go to Patna at the invitation of the famous barrister Sri P.R. Das. Das said to him, "People criticize the Chiraharana Lila, or the Lila in which Krishna stole the clothes of the gopis bathing naked in Yamuna. So Chiraharana Lila. So they're criticizing it as erotic. I would like to hear your lecture on the same." Pranagopal spoke on that Lila and related subjects for a month. Shri Das was so much influenced that at the end of the lecture, he fell at the Pranagopal's feet and requested with tears in his eyes for Diksha. He gave him Diksha. After Diksha, there was a complete change in his style of life. P.R. Das, who used to live in Western style and eat non-vegetarian food cooked by Muslim cook, began to wear tilak and kanti, or tulsi necklace, and eat vegetarian food offered to the deities of Radha and Krishna, whom he started worshipping and serving with his own hands. Once Pranagopal was doing Bhagavat lecture at the house of Rai Bahadur Satish Chaudhary in Kolkata. A gentleman who was listening to the lecture was incessantly shedding tears. After the lecture, Sri Yogendra Mahashai, the famous Kaviraj of Kolkata, brought him to Pranagopal and said, "This is the famous Bhupena Basu, member of British Parliament. Just now he is feeling much aggrieved on account of the death of his son. I have brought him to you so that you may show mercy on him and remove his suffering." Pranagopal said, "Baba, Krishna Katha is the only remedy for all kinds of affliction. You listen to Krishna Katha with faith. Your grief will certainly disappear, and peace will reign in your heart." Bhupen Babu said with folded hands and tears in his eyes, "Pranagopal, your own heart is the limitless ocean of the nectar of Krishna Katha. You may yourself kindly bless me with that nectar." Pranagopal's lecture was arranged in a spacious hall in the house of Bhupen Babu. The lecture was attended by all the prominent people of Kolkata. In that lecture, Pranagopal dwelt at length on the nature of worldly life. He spoke so well that even the atheists and materialists were convinced that the things of this world and its relationships were all transitory, shadowy, and painful. Real happiness lay only at the lotus feet of Krishna. He made them experience it themselves to some extent through his dance and kirtana at the end of the lecture every day. His wonderful dance and kirtana released such current of bhava and bhakti that even the people wearing pants and tie began to sing and dance and roll on the ground in ecstasy. At the conclusion of the lecture, Bhuvan Mohan Babu said to Pranagopal, "Goswamiji, for a number of days I have been thinking that the death of my own son has been a blessing in disguise. It is on account of his death that I have been blessed by your company, and my house has been turned into Naimisharanya, where Sri Shukadev discoursed on Bhagavatam. By your grace, not only my suffering is gone, I am ashamed to think that I have unnecessarily been feeling bereaved on account of the death of someone with whom I had no relation at all." On hearing this, Pranagopal extended both of his arms and clasped him close to his heart. Each bathed the other with the tears flowing from his eyes on account of exuberance of love and joy. Lectures lasted for 20 days. After the termination of lecture, Nagar Kirtan was done. During Nagar Kirtan, Bhuvan Babu walked barefooted with Prangopal and danced all along with Srimad Bhagavatam on his head, and tears constantly streaming out of his eyes. The people who saw him said to each other, "We never saw such a miracle before. Indeed, what cannot happen as the result of even a moment's company of a saint like Prangopal?" Pranagopala was at that time staying in Kolkata at number 60 Grey Street. Visitors came to him from morning till evening. They came to him with their problems and doubts and went back relieved and satisfied. But Pranagopala himself was worried at that time on account of the illness of his daughter Gaura Bhavani Devi. She was seriously ill. No one could say when she would breathe her last. One day, Pranagopala was wondering what could be the cause of her illness. Early in the morning that day, he entered his room, closed the door, and sat down to do japa and dhyana meditation as usual. At that time, there appeared before him Sri Shanishchara Deva, or Saturn god, seated on the back of Shakuna, a bird which he used as his vessel for flying. He asked Pranagopala to open his eyes. As he opened his eyes, he was surprised to see him. He made obeisance to him. Shanishchar Deva said, "I am the cause of your anxiety. I know that the juice comes out of sugarcane only when it is threshed and twisted. You arrange for my puja and everything will be all right." Pranagopala was at a fix. He said with folded hands, "Deva, your command puts me in a quandary because I have faith in Krishna and worship him and no one else." Shanishchar Deva laughed and said, "I also have faith in Krishna. I have caused pain to you through your daughter only with the purpose of getting the charanamrita of the deities you worship, which we gods cannot enjoy unless their devotees offer it to us. In your festivals, you invite and feed the Vaishnavas, the Brahmins, and even the beggars. You do not feel that you commit an offense. You feel that you commit an offense only when you invite us. Now, if you want your daughter to recover, do what I say. Look closely at this form of mine. Have an image made like this by a sculptor. Then invoke me and offer prasad to me. And listen, I love Harinam very much. You count a fixed number of Harinam beads every day. After completing that number, count one bead for me. Your daughter will be all right." Pranagopal thought he could do that without in any way compromising his faith in Krishna. But he said, "If I do what you say, how shall I know that you came, took the prasad and went?" Shanishardeva replied, "It is not possible for me to appear before everyone. But when you will offer prasad, my vigraha, my vahana, my vahana, 1 second, this was mentioned before. Anyway, I will come and eat prasad before all." Pranagopal opened the door of his room after completing japa. Many people had been waiting for a long time for his darshana in the veranda. He told them about the arrival of Shanishardeva and his command. Then he said, "Look, today is Shanishchar, or Saturday. Today I shall arrange for the puja of Shanishchardeva in a festival and offer prasad to him. Inform all my disciples and friends and ask them to be present at the time of puja. At that time, they will have the darshana of the vahana of Shanishchardeva." Murti of Shanishchardeva was quickly prepared. Pranagopal's disciple, Pandit Vishveshara Bhattacharya, was asked to make all the arrangements for puja. As soon as puja was done and Shanishchardev was invoked for taking prasad, a big bird of strange shape came from somewhere and sat fearlessly before the altar of the deities. Pranagopal asked Vishveshar Bhattacharya to offer prasad to it. The bird ate rice, pulses, vegetables, sweets, fruits, and everything. It did not leave even a drop of water kept for drinking. After eating, it first flew and sat on the railing on the second story of the house. From there, it turned around and saw everything, and then unfurled its wings and disappeared. Afterwards, Pranagopal said to the devotees in a serious tone, "Since this morning, when Shanishchardev told me about his faith in Harinama, my own faith in Harinam has very much increased." After this episode, not only was Gora Bhavini Devi completely cured, his daughter, the faith of Pranagopal's devotees in Harinama and in Pranagopal also increased. Pranagopal's life is full of supernatural happenings of this kind. It is not possible to narrate all. We shall state only two more to indicate the level of his spiritual attainment. In 1927, he was going to Vrindavana with his companions in a reserved compartment of Tufan Express. At 9 p.m., he lay down on a berth, like bench. His disciples began to massage his feet. Gopi Mohan Chakravarti and Navadvip Chandra Ghosh began to talk with him about the program in Vrindavan. Slowly he went into sleep. Everyone went and lay down as well. After some time, Pranagopal got up with a start, like jumped. He asked a disciple to call Navadvip Chandra Ghosh. As soon as he came, he said, "Look, tell everyone that he should get up before 3 a.m. and do Harinam. No one must leave this compartment. Those who do not follow my instructions will come to grief." All followed the instructions except two. Pranagopal's wife continued to sleep after 3 a.m. and Sri Gopi Mohan Chakravarti went and sat in another compartment. A few minutes after 3 a.m., Pranagopal shouted, "Jai Nitai! Jai Nitai!" Simultaneously was heard a terrible sound of collision, followed by shrieks of thousands of people. All were stunned and frightened. Shortly after, it was known that a goods train, like a freight train, had collided with their train. No one in the train had escaped unhurt. But what a surprise! Pranagopal's compartment had been detached from the train and stationed on another line. The coach behind it had dovetailed into the coach in front like a matchbox. None of the companions of Pranagopal was hurt except the two persons who had not followed his instruction. Once Pranagopal was going to Dhaka with his family. During those days, in order to go to Dhaka, one had to leave the train at Goyaland station and board a steamer. The steamer used to leave sometime after the arrival of the train. Pranagopal thought that during the interval, he could do his morning worship. So he sat down to worship. When the time came for the steamer to start, everyone boarded it. But Pranagopal remained worshipping still. No one had the courage to go and tell him that the steamer was about to leave. At last, Sri Dvigendra Kavyatirtha took courage. He went and said, "Pranagopal, the steamer is going to leave." Still, he sat calm and composed in worship. The ladder of the steamer was lifted. The anchor raised. The siren sounded and the engine started. But strange, the engine was working, yet the steamer was not moving. Howsoever much the captain tried, the steamer did not move. The captain was at his wits' end. He did not know what to do. In the meantime, Pranagopal completed his worship. He said to Dvijendra Pandit, "Oh, Dvijendra, has the steamer gone? How could it go until I had finished worship?" Ask the captain to lower the ladder. So the ladder was lowered at the instance of Pranagopal's companions. As soon as Pranagopal boarded the steamer, it started. The captain, who was Mohan Madan, lay down at the feet of Pranagopal, thinking he was a pira or prophet. Radhakund is the holiest place of the Gaudiya Vaishnavas. It was discovered by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Since then, it has been under the possession of Gaudiya Vaishnavas. But at that time, its condition was deplorable. It had not been cleaned for 100 years. Its water had become so muddy that it was not possible to take even a few drops of it as Charanamrita. It brought tears in Pranagopal's eyes to see it. He determined to have it cleaned and renovated. But this was a huge task. It involved huge expenditure. It was, however, his nature not to be deterred by any difficulties, howsoever great. Once he undertook to do a work, he would do it. He started begging from door to door. He collected some money with his own efforts and the efforts of Sri Ramdas Babaji Maharaj. Some money was collected and the work started. At that time, the Raja of Avagar claimed that Radhakund, Shyamakund, and the adjoining lands belonged to him. The matter was taken to the court. The work was stopped. The case was fought in the lower court and the high court. In the high court, Pranagopal disciple barrister P.R. Das fought the case on behalf of the Gaudiyas. The case was won and the work restarted. So just to say that even this person who claimed that Radhakund, Shyamakund and those lands are his, he even put the fence that nobody could go inside. And after, when they won the case, the fence was removed. So, but the money was collected was spent in 7 months. Major part of the work was yet to be done. Pranagopal then asked his wealthy disciple Sri Priyanath Paul to undertake the responsibility of completing the work. He first expressed his inability to do it, but the same night, Radharani reprimanded him for disobeying the Guru. The next day, he apologized to the Guru and took upon himself the responsibility of completing the work. If Radharani had not intervened, it would have been difficult to complete the work. But was it possible for her not to intervene? How could she remain indifferent to the work which was undertaken by her own devotee for her own service? The work was completed with the financial assistance of Sri Priyanath Paul. Pranagopal's contribution to Kirtana also is worth mentioning. He trained all the important Kirtaniyas of his time. He heard their Kirtana and corrected it where it ran counter to Rasa Siddhanta, the philosophy of rasa, changed the language where necessary, and taught them to appropriate tune and dance by himself singing and dancing. The Lila Kirtanas in vogue at the time related to Krishna Lila. He introduced Lila Kirtanas pertaining to Gaura Lila, by himself composing songs and training the Kirtaniyas to sing them and dance in the manner appropriate to the bhava of the songs. Pranagopal's biggest contribution was to Gaudiya Vaishnava literature. He translated Sri Jiva Goswami's Bhagavat Sandarbha, Priti Sandarbha, Krishna Sandarbha, Bhakti Sandarbha, and other works in simple Bengali. He also translated in Bengali Vishwanath Chakravartipad's Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu Bindu, Bhagavat Amrita Kana, Ujjvala Nilamani Kirana, Ragavartna Chandrika, and other works. Besides, he wrote a commentary on Chaitanya Charitamrita. It is surprising that in spite his preoccupation with so many other things, he could not find time and energy to do this. He could find the time and energy to do this. So, Sripad Pranagopal also set the example of an ideal grihasta or householder. The head of his family was Madan Mohan, the deity he worshipped. He loved the other members of the family just as much as they loved Madan Mohan. Everything that he possessed was for Madan Mohan and his devotees. He did not try to collect for his family. This was against his principle. Once, one of his lady disciples wanted to donate to him her palatial building, palace. He did not accept it. On her insistence, he said, "By accepting your palace, I do not want to lose my children. They will develop attachment to it, and their attachment to Madan Mohan will decrease." What he meant was that his relation with them was due to their relation with Madan Mohan. If they cease to have relation with Madan Mohan, their relation with him also would cease. Sripad Pranagopal did not leave anything for his family. He got plenty of money from the devotees, but as soon as money came, he became restless to spend it. He either spent it on some festival of Madan Mohan or in the service of devotees. He did not feel at ease until he had spent it. So Sripad Pranagopal Goswami appeared on spiritual firmament as a powerful luminary in 1876 and disappeared in 1941 after shedding his light all around as an ideal devotee, acharya, scholar, and householder. Jai Nitai, Jai Shri Radhe. So this was the story about Pranagopal Goswami. What do you think? So we can always pray to him that we also get it.
Beautiful.
Huh?
Beautiful story.
Yes.
This is our Param Guru. Sri exhort Radha Govind Das Babaji. Guru is Pranagopala Goswami.
Yes.
Is our Param Guru. Very nice story. Very nice memory.
Mm. So we can pray to him also that we get all those feelings, and to our Gurudev, of course, and our Param Guru, everyone, that we enter into this.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, everyone, for listening. I think soon will be time for Italian Sangha. Maybe if somebody wants to add something or comment something more, please do.
Gurudev, I found it so wonderful how it was described there that he was also a householder, and also he was having so many devotees following him, right?
Right.
Very wonderful. How dedicated he was in his service to Ishtadev, and how he connected everything around him to Ishtadev.
That is the relation. He was totally fixed there.
And I felt this is exactly what you are always teaching to us.
Trying
By your example and by your words also.